All right, beauty. Pete, thank you so much for joining me. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are live, we haven't advertised this, so I'm sure a few will log on. If you are watching this in the archive, today is February. What are we today, Pete?
17th.
17th of February, 2022. And we have Pete Nicoletti. Pete Nicoletti is the Field CISO for Checkpoint Software. So Pete, welcome. We're going to have a chat about, hey, all things cyber centered on this little report that our company produced for us last year. Firstly, how are you, man?
I'm fantastic. I live in Southern Florida in Paradise down in the Florida Keys. And I'm working for the most paranoid global security company that started the security business. So
you got that straight.
It's fantastic. I love it, and I love all working with my colleagues. I've got some of the smartest people in security that I get to work with. So every day is a great day for me.
All right, fantastic. And you're right with the description of the company. Now let's see here. Look at that. A little technical error just occurred for me in my Adobe shutdown. We're going to discuss this report as soon as I can get it back up again. So ladies and gentlemen, our company produces a report every year. We call it the Security Report. And the Security Report is basically our summary of what took place previously, but mostly what we can expect from people in the future, right? What we can expect this year in 2022. Now, I purposefully, and look at this, clickety-click, I purposefully try my best to take this from the hands of our cybersecurity specialists, which are mostly in our Tel Aviv office, but also spread around the globe. And then I read it live with my audience, in front of my customers. And so we're going to go through this today, Pete and I. I think what's interesting, if I go straight to the table of contents, Pete, something jumped out to me immediately, of course, is SolarWinds and Log4j. Now, it's like, do we want to beat that dead horse? The horse isn't dead, right?
The horse is kicking back and knocking some people's teeth out.
Yeah.
And it's, the supply chain breaches, we talk about SolarWinds, we talk about Kaseya, and now we're talking about Log4j. These point to a couple of different issues within supply chain issues. We look at how the malware was, how the breach actually occurred with SolarWinds, which was unbelievable, with forged Office 365 credentials and then embedding the compromise into the update. Similar with Kaseya, having the update go to their managed customers and amplifying the effects of it. Log4j is slightly different because it shined a big bright light on our dependency on open source software and how everybody's using them except Checkpoint. And it really, you think of all the fallout, it was a crazy day. What was it, December 8th or December 9th? And I looked back at the history of Log4j, and it's crazy how we found it. We found it on the mining, what's the name of the game that kids play?
Really? Minecraft? I didn't know this.
Minecraft was the canary in the coal mine. It was the first breaches. Kids were hacking each other with 21 characters. They would take over each other's Minecraft servers because it was that easy. It was just a simple string, and you own the server, and then you could run executables. So the thing is, it was so easy, and it was hidden for so long. Who knows how many other people found it before it was reported to the Apache Foundation. But it really brings out a couple things. We have a huge dependency that a lot of people are not aware of. Not a lot of small and medium companies do a software inventory to actually know what they do. It's very difficult to do, and it's time consuming, and the tools required and the expertise required. And then, you might not never use it, but until something like this comes out. So that's one thing that's super challenging. The other thing is, you look at the horrible, horrible irony of your security platform being your vulnerable vector.
Right.
And if that doesn't keep you up at night, I don't know what does as a CISO. But that's what we saw with this. We saw two major issues. Number one, we saw a lot of security vendors with the vulnerability, but then we saw them take a long time to fix it. And still some security vendors have not fixed that vulnerability.
So that's right. Right. That's months now.
Months, and that's pathetic.
Well, and so why? Because so this is a really good salient point that you just brought up. These organizations, they pay good money, right? I mean, these are software engineers, so we're talking 6-digit income. So smart people. There's lots of them. They can hire pretty much the smartest people in the world. Why does it take 2 months to do this? I mean, I'm kind of criticizing from the bleachers, so I want to be careful.
I know.
Here. It's not just keystrokes. I get that. I'm not the keystroke guy, but it kind of is too, isn't it?
Well, at Checkpoint, we track that. We track the, how fast that response is, and you can see it because it's all public information, and it's dramatic. It's basically down to a sense of urgency. If you're going to work on a problem from 9 to 5, it's going to take you weeks to fix it. I know here at Checkpoint when, because I was involved in some of the calls with Johnny and Dorit and others, where the sense of urgency was off the charts because we wanted to give good information to our customers. Now, the interesting thing about Log4j that not a lot of people know, but Checkpoint was the singular, and I mean only, security vendor to preemptively block it. In other words, we didn't have to react with an IPS signature. We didn't have to send out an update. We didn't have to counsel our customers and say, hey, you need to put this rule in place. None of that. Our whole, from Gil all the way down, the whole message of prevention, it prevented this. People slept through log. If you were a Checkpoint customer, you slept through it. And the maelstrom occurred around you. So those are some things that not a lot of people know. And since we're a paranoid engineering company and not a marketing company, you're not going to hear it in our marketing information. So you got to hear it from practitioners and people from the inside in this forum. So thank you, Eddie, for letting this talk.
Yeah, well, it speaks to one of my favorite subjects, which is actually culture, right? Yeah. Culture of an organization. And, I suspect, so I've got a theory. You tell me what you think of this then. Because Gil Schwed's the founding father of network security. I mean, there was no network security before him. So because founding the industry and from a time zone, Israel, that is I don't want to say more challenging, I suppose it would be, but most other cyber companies are in the United States. And so they're focused on this kind of 9 to 5, it's cultural, it's embedded into your DNA, right? Most of my customers are 9 to 5. At Checkpoint, most of our customers are not kind of 9 to 5 because when our head office is in Tel Aviv, our customers are 9 to 5 at nighttime, right? So we've set the company up 25 years ago to manage that problem. So that's the first thing. We're set up to manage over a couple of decades, being able to have that all hands on deck and make sure that no matter what time zone a problem is breaking out into, let's go for it. I suspect the other reason why we responded quite well is because of our prevention philosophy. Now, here's where I'm going with this. Tell me what you think. So I'm making 2 points. That's the first one I want you to respond to. The second is the culture of a prevention philosophy means that when we experience false positives, we are used to mitigating them immediately. That rush again, right? To all hands on deck, so that we experience the least amount of fallout. Now, I'm saying at times it's seconds, other times it could be minutes, right? On an individual basis, right? It could be more, but we are trained for it. We're ready for it. In fact, Peter and I, for those in the audience, Peter, I was just chatting beforehand. I was expressing a little bit of frustration because I've never seemed to be able to print on Wi-Fi from my Checkpoint laptop. And it's just annoying, right? Now, it could be a user error. It could also
I have the same problem. I have Zone Alarm on my personals and Checkpoint.
Right. We lock something down. We're locked down, right? Because we're a prevention company. So what do I have to do? I've got a gigantic print cable because my printer's all the way over there. And so I've got a gigantic print cable. Over there, plug it in. Okay, 20 seconds of my life, right? So, Eddie, enough. I'm done with my complaining. But I am used to adapting. It's just part of the culture. And I suspect that's what we get from our organization all over. In fact, let's just say hello to Miguel. Miguel, one of my neighbors in New Jersey here. I'm not as fortunate as to be warm like you, Pete, but Miguel's one of our security engineering managers. Hey, buddy, pleased you tuned in. And Miguel and I have spoken about this, right? It's part of the culture of our organization to go, yeah, all right, we'll adapt with that and we'll fly. All right, Pete, what do you think, man?
Yeah, so back to the culture, the phase one of your world's longest question. I've worked with Israeli companies and sold, believe it, I've sold to Israeli companies. So if you're a salesman and you sell to an Israeli company, that's really something. But the culture, and I've been to Israel about 10 times, and I think it really comes down to a couple of things. When you're surrounded by enemies, literally surrounded by people that want to kill you and that are bombing you constantly, and that every single person in Israel is conscripted into the military and they understand what it means to defend their country, I think that builds into their DNA. And I think, and if you look at all those different security companies and how they've evolved from the different, cyber divisions within Israel, I forget what the number was, but 45% of all security development comes out of Israel. I mean, that's crazy.
Right.
Only US has higher. But if you look at Intel and Microsoft and all the other big guys, they all have development locations in Israel because
that's right.
The talent's there, the paranoia is there, the culture is there. And I really think that lends itself, to the second part of your question of lockdown and prevention. As an executive, as a security executive, you're wanting to lubricate the business. You're wanting to try to make it easier. You want to, we try to add security to a level that's not painful, because if you lock down things too much, and your business can't move. So there has to be a balance. There has to be reasons for things. Now, it might be a user error there, Eddie, but I do have the same challenges with some new things. But the cool thing is, you got the dashboard. You can look and see what the logs were, and you can actually diagnose it because you're getting some feedback through your dashboard. And even me, I can monitor my checkpoint firewall right on my phone, so I can see what websites my kids are going to. Sometimes they discover cool things before I do. We won't get into that topic too far, but but the kids are exploring things, and there's all kinds of stuff. And of course, we have to protect all kinds of technology now, with mobile threats increasing, and it's in the report where we're seeing an increase in mobile threats. We're seeing remote access threats going up. We're still failing. If you look at the stats, it's increasing with, just look at 2019, we had costs of 11.5 billion. Last year or the year before that, is 22 billion. And then this year it's even higher. So whatever we're doing, we don't have enough sense of urgency. We don't have enough tools. We don't have enough integrated tools. We're not focusing on prevention. A lot of other people out there talk about detection, but detection is just the first step. If you don't prevent it, I hear all the time about, how we have to do end user training for email. And I think to myself, as a security professional, you are an utter failure if the last line of defense is Jimmy in purchasing, if he's going to be able to click on some targeted email that, some delivery that he's expecting, and some domain that's, if you could count on your employees to make those decisions as a security professional, you are a failure. You've got to have a better email security posture to where those turds don't get in your inbox.
So what can people do then in that case? Obviously they're still going to train end users. Fine. That's one of many things. So it's an interesting point you bring up. That's the last line of defense. And if that is your one line of defense or main line of defense, you're having a problem. What can we tell people?
Well, technology is radically changing. And once again, it's because of Israeli culture. look at where the latest advancements are coming from in email protection. We're moving away from traditional gateways to API based and integrated right into the cloud. If you look at the bidding war that occurred for Avanan, the company that we just purchased, the traditional vendors knew their lunch was being eaten, and the gateways are exposed publicly. When you do a little bit of analysis, you can see exactly which technology the companies are using with those external mail gateways, and you can craft your messages with approaches that are known to be able to be bypassed by those external gateways. Until you start looking at leveraging more artificial intelligence and smarter tools and doing it through the API and through the connection directly through to Microsoft Office 365, you're not going to win. You're at 99%, and 99 is not good enough.
Right.
So the Avanan stuff that we just purchased and integrating into our platform is so far superior. It's just a delight being able to represent it to customers, and it installs in 3 minutes. It's no longer taking down your whole, mail gateway. So there's generational changes occurring, and
Right.
I just wanted to highlight that one in email because it's still the number one vector for email, and it has been for years. It's still 85% of the malware is delivered by email by that vector. So if you're going to do one thing, fix that. That's an easy fix to have.
Yeah, that's true. If you're going to do one thing this year, fix that. I wonder if that sentence is in our report here. We'll look for it. You said a moment ago, and it reminded me of something that's very interesting. You said, 99% is not good enough, right? Well, this speaks to me to the job of the CISO, which is why I think we're so strong on prevention, because if you're a threat actor, there's no penalty for being wrong. You can be wrong 1,000 times. Once you set up the keystrokes and the malware's out there, you just wait, right? You can be wrong 1,000 times in your sleep and it won't affect you. A CISO can only be wrong once. That's a problem. The CISO needs to be wrong.
It's asymmetric warfare. It's
asymmetric warfare. Nice.
And the other thing that we talk about is, $1 worth of offense can beat $10,000 worth of defense. Companies are spending a lot of money on defense, but if you forgot to make a patch, or if you have a cloud misconfiguration, which is another hot new area of vulnerabilities, we're moving so fast, we're developing so fast. We have, a culture of, I've got to be faster, better, cheaper than the next guy. And the poor developers are being challenged to get production code to the cloud and to transform their environments to the cloud, and they're making mistakes. They're putting secrets out there. They're having misconfigurations, and that leads to another suite of tools that Check Point offers that are superior. The new company that we just bought, superior code scanning. It's the fastest code scanner out there. I just saw a demo on it. I used the big brand names. I don't need to name them. Everybody knows who they are. I've used the competitors before, and it was back in the days where we were convincing the developers that fixing code during the development process was far cheaper than fixing it in production. We were always having production issues. And I said, look, we've got to move further back. And not being a software developer, I had to slam the table harder and yell louder than I should have. But my lieutenants were software developers. So Clint and Jason at the time convinced the developers to start scanning their code and fixing it. And I think that's where things have to go. You have to get further back in that CI/CD, that continuous integration, continuous development pipeline. And Check Point really has some fantastic tools as you're scanning your code, you're putting it out to the cloud. The CloudGuard tools have the most extensive compliance reporting. They have the most extensive automatic and automagic ways to fix configurations as they're spotted and remediated. And that's what we need to do. Things need to work in the speed of automatic. If you don't catch something for a month, you're vulnerable for that month. Things need to be caught as they occur. So it's not just a prevention method, as we're seeing, a prevention message, but preventing the issue from occurring in the first place with, real-time scanning, real-time remediation, and fixing those pretty whopper areas of risk. And we're going to keep seeing them because people aren't using the tools, or they're just using the native tools from their software manufacturer. Those are not good enough, or their cloud hosting platform. You have to have a security company's tools. And once again, back to the paranoia and the culture, that's what you got to go with. You got to go with the best.
That's right. Well, and then Miguel jumping in on culture again. It's built into the DNA. He was saying a little earlier. Pete, this is great. This is 23 minutes, and I think we should do this again another day. We're going to keep going through this report, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, look, here we are. I jumped to page 13. I got to page 2 yesterday. So we'll do another live stream. You can get this report by going to checkpoint.com. So here it is right here. That's what you're looking for, Cybersecurity Report 2022. And then, Pete, I thought of a great quote as you were talking about, because I said, yeah, we're really locked down. And as a CISO, you immediately said, yeah, but if you're locked down too much, right, you don't get the freedoms. This is my favorite quote on the balance between security and freedom by Alexander Solzhenitsyn. He said, human beings are born with different capacities. If they are free, they are not equal. And if they are equal, they are not free. It's so profound. And this is a survivor of the Gulag camps in Soviet Russia after the Second World War. So this is a man who's had a lot of time for introspection. And I love that quote because this is the balance of a security professional and a company like ours. And what we would recommend to other CISOs out there is, how much we lock down, how much freedom we give people. And it's based on, people don't like this, their merit, right? At Checkpoint, we have to hire smart people. It has to be that way, obviously. So life is about merit. And there are some people whom we can, and I think this is where the Checkpoint employees are. It's like, hey, we've locked you down by printing, Eddie. You've got the mental capacity, Eddie, we think, to grab a cable and plug that baby in. And we think you can still work at a good level, right? So that's the trust the company's giving in me that I'll get the job done. We are so paranoid, though, because we're Checkpoint. And thank you, Miguel. Yes, good man. Miguel is posting where we put the security report. But we're so paranoid, we want to make sure that, look, we have the keys to the kingdoms, right? So we want to lock down as best as possible. Right, that's my quote, Pete.
I love it. You saved me from reading 900 pages. And I do want to point out one really cool thing that, once again, back to that prevention. A lot of people do password reuse. They use the same password everywhere they go. Their corporate accounts or private accounts. With Checkpoint, that's one of the things that we prevent. If we see you entering your corporate credentials into the Ashley Madison website, which was hacked and everybody's credentials were stolen, and I had to deal with that at a previous company. That was exciting, seeing our company credentials being used on a hacked website. But those are the things. If you prevent it, then you're helping the end user from hurting themselves. So thanks again. I love the quote. That's a thick book to read, and you saved me a little bit of time. Thank you.
It is. You're right. So you do know that book. It's a doorstopper. Pete, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, stay safe online. We're here for you. Reach out to Pete and I anytime on LinkedIn. You'll find us. Pete Nicoletti, Eddie Doyle. We've both got slightly unusual names. You'll find us. We want to continue the conversation. Thank you for joining us today. Pete, stay right there. I'm going to end the broadcast because I want to say goodbye to you.